Good afternoon and welcome to the decision session for the Executive Member for Environment and Climate Change on Wednesday the 13th of April at 3 o'clock. We have Joseph, the officer here, Chris from the EA and Steve from the Council, the Flood Manager, the Environment Agency, and Joe to keep me on track to make sure I get it right. Yep. So it's a very short agenda. First item of business is declarations of interest, which applies to me. There are no declarations of interest. I've read the minutes, they're good, so I will sign the minutes at the end of the meeting. There is no public participation, so in a bit of a leap, we're straight to item 4, which is the York 5-year flood plan. Chris, over to yourself.
Thanks, Councillor. I don't propose to run through the paper, so I'll just pick out some of the highlights, some of the recent highlights that we've had. So as of April this year, Bishop Thorpe scheme has completed, which takes us over the 2,000 properties better protected target that we set out to achieve following the flooding of 2015. So really great to see that. Not only have we hit that 2,000 properties better protected, but looking ahead, we're looking to better protect probably a further 1,000 properties on top of that by the end of the programme. So yeah, fantastic work from everybody involved there in the partnership. So yeah, a really great milestone to hit. Talking of great things happening, my team will be working very closely with some of the local schools around the Clifton and Rawcliffe area, where we have an ongoing construction for the Clifton and Rawcliffe flood alleviation scheme. So we've had site visits, we've had sessions with the pupils there. We've also run a competition where we use some of the trees that have had to be removed as part of that scheme. The pupils are creating sculptures using some of those and benches. So again, really nice to have that engagement with the schools. We're also working very closely with the universities, both St John and York University. So really good engagement with the educational sector there. Trees. So we've managed to plant a further 100 trees being planted at various sites throughout York, which is fantastic at the end of this current tree planting season. And obviously there's many more planned for the upcoming tree planting season, which will be winter this year. As you'll be aware, 5-to-1 ratio. So for every tree that we remove, we aim to plant 5 in its place. Probably just also worth touching on the recent flooding. Obviously, some of our defences, some of the new defences were tested. They've all performed very well. We're very happy with the way they've operated. And whilst we did have some delay, certainly at Clementhorpe and Clifton, we've worked really quickly to get back on track there, and we've lost between a week and 10 days overall. So minimal impact, and yeah, we're cracking on, which is great news.
That's brilliant. Steve, I should have brought you in first, shouldn't I? I always do this the wrong way around. Over to yourself.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Paula. That's quite all right. Just in response to Chris's update there, it's really good to see from City of York Council point of view, the progress made on some really complex schemes there. And important to note that it takes a lot of work across a wide range of City of York Council departments to work on those schemes with everything from diversions to highways and the temporary impacts and changes to the public realm as those schemes are put in place. So it's not just a recognition that we're working well together within this group, but also to colleagues in other departments. So I think that's important. I think just considering the recent flooding in February, for the last 3 Februaries now, for this year and the 2 years previous, we've seen flood events of pretty much the same sort of size. Fairly significant events for York, certainly not in the realms of what we saw in Boxing Day 2015 or the 2000 floods, for example. But the sort of events that really test our defences and our emergency response operations. So again, fantastic work from the Environment Agency in the response to the floods and from our frontline teams. Which, especially at that time of year when they're being called upon to do other tasks such as winter maintenance. So I think really a recognition of the work that's put in there. We do have some concerns, and we're working with the Environment Agency on some of the forecasting that we saw in that event. There were some really serious and high level forecasts in advance of that flood event, but I'm working closely with the environmental colleagues to better understand that, so we can make sure that we see the improvements in future flood events and their response. But yeah, recognition that really went well. The wider reports, Councillor Woodson, as you referenced there, the overarching paper obviously links to Annex 1, which was the Environment Agency updates. But also within the reports, just on top of the Environment Agency-led schemes, just want to point out under paragraphs 11 and 12 and 13 and 14, the works that we are leading on, City of York Council are leading on the works, Germany, Beck, Fulford area. Those works are progressing well, with funding from the Environment Agency wider programme, but also City of York Council funded works, and the appraisal works for those are funding well, working well, and the design of that's progressing well. We do have a few issues that we need to work around in terms of the biodiversity and the aspects that are found in the Beck and some heritage issues. But they're progressing well. It's meant to an extension to the programme, but we're hoping that we'll have planning permission in place later this year and looking towards construction phase in 2023. Just also recognising from paragraph 16 onwards, there's also references there to a discussion that we had in the last decision session on the 6th of October regarding the flood risk management plans that are required under the EU Floods Directive. The Environment Agency are developing the updates to those plans, and we debated those at the last meeting and links to the plans that were out for consultation. That consultation phase is now complete. The Environment Agency had 46 consultation responses on the wider River Humber plan, which includes obviously the Swell, the Ure, the Nid and the Use, which the watercourses and the Derwents, a small section of that affects City of York Council. And I've seen the responses to those plans, the consultation responses to that consultation phase, and some useful inputs from partners across the catchments, reinforcing the things that we're already doing well and others are doing well. And we're expecting the final version of that plan in the next month or so for our sign-off and approval as part of the wider process. So recognition there of the work that's happened with the flood risk management plans at that higher level. And also in the last meeting, we discussed that the next stage for us would be an update to our local flood risk management strategy, which is a piece of work that we're already starting now, that we've seen the updates to the flood risk management plans, and we'll bring that to this meeting at a later date. There'll also be a wider public consultation on that. Annex 2 of the report, the other substantive update in the reports, is an update to the DEFRA funded innovation programme. So we've discussed this previously, but work has continued since our last meeting, and that's looking at natural flood risk management solutions across the Swale, the Ure and the Nid catchments, and how we can work to incentivise and support the uptake of those measures, which will deliver direct flood benefits to colleagues across the North Yorkshire County Council area, but also an accumulative benefit to citizens of York and businesses in York. And what that will do is it will work in parallel with the work that the Environment Agency have led on in raising the hard flood defences through the city and provide that long-term climate change sponge in the city. That work's progressing really well. We will be submitting our final business case to the Environment Agency at the end of this month. And after the approval process for that, by early summertime, our project manager will be taking forward that project into the delivery phase. We've got some really good emerging partnerships with North Yorkshire County Council and the Dales Rivers Trust, the National Parks and other groups out there. And within Annex 2, there's an example of the Memorandum of Understanding that we're currently talking to North Yorkshire County Council about, and that's been discussed with our legal colleagues and our procurement colleagues and others within the council. So that's really just an update on that piece of work. And aside from that, just really recognition that I think we're working really well together, and long may we do so, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, I don't have many questions, but I do have some comments. So first of all, I think the way that we are now all working together is fantastic. And right the way across, whether it's the Environment Agency, whether it's North Yorkshire County Council, whether it's our residents, it's absolutely critical that we all continue to cooperate, that we continue to work together so that we can deliver the whole, and that we continue to communicate. And the step change in the last year from the Environment Agency's communication with ourselves and our residents is really applauded. And the step change that you've managed to make as well by bringing in the resource for the natural flood resilience through the whole of the catchment area is again really to be applauded. It's fantastic work that I'm seeing. So well done, both of you. Now, the comments that I'm going to make are, let's remember, this is 3,000 homes that we are protecting. 3,000 families that this work is making sure that they can sleep at night, even when it rains. So that is really, really good. You mentioned the schoolwork that you've done. You forgot about Lord Derrimore. They are delighted to have the number of trees that you're planting. And again, the work that both of you have done to ensure that a developer, you know, somebody who's doing construction is actually planting 5 trees to 1. I really wish the rest of our developers did the same. And I do keep pushing planning on asking, can we have the same? I'm not there yet, but I'll get there. In terms of where we can plant these trees, we've just finished a project that was sponsored by the government called Green Streets. So we have 100 sites across York now that we know you can plant trees in. So the work has been done so that next winter we can get on with it, which is fantastic. The other thing to be noted is, regardless of what's happening with the rest of the world, your work keeps continuing on time, to budget. Again, you know, really, really applaud that. It's fabulous to see. And in terms of forecasting, I know that there will be a fix around the corner so that we can get it about right, rather than frightening me occasionally and then coming right back down again. So that is really, really good to see. So I genuinely am delighted with where we are, and it's down to the hard work of yourselves and your team. So thank you. Now, I know there's a formal bit I have to do. So in terms of making sure that this is recorded, I am asked to note part of the report, which I've done, and then consider and endorse, which I have considered and I do endorse, the proposed amendments and updates to the consultation stage Humber Flood Risk Management Plan, and support officer approval of the final publication of the stage document in June 2022. Have I got that right, Joe? Okay, that's fine. Any further comments from yourselves, gentlemen?
No, thank you. Thank you.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, excellent. There is no urgent business, so